Imagine this, 13 of the most diabolical Reddit confessions you've ever seen. But there is a twist. Every time the next story gets significantly worse. He still says it's totally worth it. We've got cheating, secret hookups, people betraying the people closest to them, and the last one genuinely made me question humanity. Now let's see what Reddit has been confessing. I started stalking my stalker back. She tried to get me fired. I don't even know her at all. Like a year ago, I made a TikTok video about some fandom bullshit that reached an audience of teenagers. Needless to say, they descended upon me, reported most of my videos, and made my TikTok app pretty dysfunctional. I didn't say anything crazy or insulting to anyone, so I didn't really care and it just blew over. About 2 days later, I just pulled aside from my boss. He has a manila folder. He says, I have to ask you about this, and shows me screenshots that were emailed to him. They were completely edited, but it was still my account, my profile picture, and edited racist slurs that someone was trying to make it look like I posted. I was shook. I was like, no, I've never done that. Oh my god, I can show you my whole account. He believed me immediately, but he had to bring it to my attention. He was like, you need to private your account, and I was like, yes sir. I then find out there's 2 Facebook reviews on our jobs page, calling me by my full name and saying I'm a racist homophobe. One of them is a real account. One is not. That's how I found my stalker. She used her real account. I sent her a message asking to take the reviews down. She goes berserk. She calls me a slave, a carpet muncher, etc. She even logs into her mother's Facebook account to start sending me hate messages from there. I report them both and they get suspended for a few days. She blocks me so I can't report the review, but I have her name now. She has a very small life, graduated and apparently no job living with her mom, and a lot of time on her hands. So I just made an Instagram account with all her photos and have started following her classmates from high school. I feel a little crazy, but it's been a year and her fake review can't be removed because I can't even see it. Facebook gives you no options for someone stalking and harassing you but to block them. I don't really have anyone to talk to this about because it's 1, embarrassing, 2, not much can be done, and 3, I don't want to draw more attention to the shitty reviews, so this was my very dark solution. Someone give me some advice, please. This person is confessing because they're stalking their stalker. I mean, I don't think they're stalking in the sense like, hey, I'm obsessed with you, I want to destroy you, I want to know you. They're more stalking in a defensive way. They want to know what's up, what the stalker is planning to destroy their life. So I don't know why they're confessing it. I mean, they just want to talk about their struggles. Having a stalker can be scary and it can be dangerous. It's so weird that this stalker came from a fandom. I've seen posts like this. There's like these insane fandoms from animes or wherever where you say that a character is bad or something and they just fully dox you. They go attack you with their whole community, which is crazy. And it makes sense that this person has no job and lives with their mom. I mean, the stalker, right? Stalking a stalker back to assert dominance has to show his alpha wolf. Yes, that's definitely what they're doing, Chad. That's definitely what they're doing. It's really effed up because if you have someone constantly hating on you and you just can't stop it, sometimes going to the police doesn't even work because the police are not gonna take anything serious that's like only on the internet, right? Alright, I don't got much to say about this. This is, yeah, this is very light, but let's see what the next one is. My brother still thinks he dented my dad's truck, but it was actually me. Back in the summer of 2014, I was 14 and my older brother Mark was 20. My dad owned this blue 1998 Ford F-150 that he treated like his prized possession. He always parked it on the narrow gravel driveway right next to the stack of firewood. Mark had come home late on a Saturday night after partying with his college friends. He was totally wasted, stumbled upstairs and passed out on his bed with his boots still on. The next morning around 7 AM, I woke up early to grab my mountain bike from behind the truck. I was trying to squeeze past the driver's side while holding the bike frame, lost my balance and the heavy metal handlebar scraped violently down the door. It left a deep 6-inch dent. How do you even do that with a handlebar? That's insane, guys. A 6-inch dent? And a nasty gouge in the paint right down the primer. I panicked completely. My dad has a terrible temper back then and I was terrified of what he would do. I ran upstairs, woke Mark up and told him Dad was already downstairs. Mark was so hungover he could barely open his eyes. He rubbed his face, looked out the bedroom window at the truck and his jaw dropped. Because he had blacked out the night before, he genuinely couldn't remember his drive home. He looked at me with his terrified expression and asked if he had hit something pulling into the driveway. I didn't even lie directly. I just held eye contact and gave him a heavy look, like, yeah man, you screwed up. Mark went downstairs, confessed to my dad that he must have clipped the fence post on his way in, and ended up paying $800 out of his summer job savings to get the panel fixed. Dad grounded him for a month and didn't trust him with the vehicles for years. Mark is 30 now. We were sitting on his back porch last month, having a beer, and he randomly brought up that night he got too drunk and hit the truck. He laughed about how stupid he was in his 20s. I just smiled and took a sip of my drink. I wanted to tell him so badly, but bringing it up now feels even worse than keeping it as a secret. What did Mark ever do to you, bro? Mark took strays for no reason, had to pay $800 out of his summer job. And Mark is 30 years old right now. That means OP is 24 years old. Bro, at this point, it's 10 years later. You just gotta tell him, bro. I doubt he would care. I mean, if you really are afraid that he would care that much, buy him like a present that's worth $800 or something. Actually, inflation happens, so you might wanna spend a little bit more. Also because of the stress you probably gave that guy. No, I would take that to my grave. I can't lie. I don't think that is something worthy to take to your grave. I honestly think he wouldn't care. I mean, he's 30 years old. He's a whole adult right now. And I mean, at least Mark turned out fine either way. Who knows, this was a positive influence, right? Mark might have been partying, getting drunk every day, and he might have actually scratched the car one day. But now, because he got that, he got grounded, he had to pay that out of his pocket. He like, okay, I gotta sober up. Maybe it was a good influence. I'm sure they're brothers, right? They could laugh about it. I feel like they could laugh about it. I don't think it's that deep. I have a horrible thought that I know is wrong, and I need to admit it. I have two best friends. We're all 21, and we've been best friends since we were 8. I'll call them A and B. B has always had this habit of becoming almost hyperfixated on whoever new comes into her life. She gets extremely attached to them, and for a while seems to forget everyone else exists. We've known her for so long that we've learned to live with it. But about 10 months ago, she joined a new office and met a guy who has now become her older brother. Since then, it feels like he is the only person that she talks about. Everything is about him. What he said, what he did, where they went, what he thinks, etc. I don't like this guy at all. Before she met him, B had never even drunk alcohol. Now he pressures her to drink, take her clubbing, and makes comments about how she's getting slimmer. He has a girlfriend, by the way. The worst part isn't even him. It's what B has become because of his relationship. Her own brothers barely want to talk to her anymore because she constantly prioritizes this new brother over them. She hasn't asked about what's going on in our lives for the past 10 months. She genuinely has no idea what's happening with our other best friend, A. I almost ended up in a hospital at one point and she didn't even ask if I was okay. She has made almost everyone in her life cry because of how unwanted she makes them feel. People who have known and loved her for years are slowly getting pushed aside while this guy has become her entire world. So yes, I genuinely want him to betray her. Not because I want her to suffer, I just want something to happen that finally makes her snap out of this obsession and realize what she's doing to everyone around her. I want her to finally look around and realize that while she is busy making one person the center of her world, she's losing everyone else. I know that's an awful thing to wish for someone I've loved for over a decade, but after being ignored for almost a year, after watching her make her own family and friends feel completely unwanted, I don't know what else to call this feeling except resentment. And honestly, I don't even feel horrible about thinking it. She genuinely believes she has found her long-lost brother, and I know for a fact that she doesn't like him like that. I feel bad for her because it's her fault, but at the same time, she just doesn't see it. This person is obviously missing something in her life. That's why she's so obsessed with this guy. She is living like a different person, right? She's going clubbing, she's drinking alcohol like she never ever did, all because of this guy. This is a problem that I see a lot of people do when they also... This isn't even a relationship, by the way, but what a lot of people do when they enter a relationship, when they get a partner, is they totally skip out on their friends. They never talk to their friends anymore, and slowly this person becomes even more the center of their world because it's the only one they have left. And that's where you get an even more healthy obsession. And doing this with a person, she's calling it her older brother. She probably has feelings for the guy. This is an assumption, but I'm gonna assume that here. That's gonna hurt her in the long run, bro. And then she will no longer have any friends. Now, my advice for OP would to distance themselves from her, because obviously it's affecting them a lot mentally. I mean, they're saying that everyone is crying because this person, B, makes them feel so unwanted. At this point, you gotta care for yourself and you gotta just stop talking to them. Whenever something happens, they'll probably come crawling back. And the best thing to do right now is distance yourself for yourself. And then if they ever realize that this person wasn't good for them, or that what they were doing was wrong, I'm sure they will come back to you. And then you just gotta welcome them back. I feel like that's the best thing to do. However, 100%, you should definitely make clear how that made you feel and how that made their friends feel. I don't know. It's kind of an eye-opener as well to like what kind of person this is. But you never know what's happening with someone's life and why they're doing stuff like this. So yeah, I genuinely want him to betray her, not because I want her to suffer. That's actually crazy though. I wouldn't prey on their downfall or like something terrible. I guess it could hurt seeing your best friend just disappear and being terrible to everyone around them, but you shouldn't wish for it, in my opinion. I think if they are an asshole, or if they do realize that they're being terrible to their friends, it will come naturally. You don't gotta wish for bad stuff, in my opinion. In my opinion, chat. Attachment issues is deep-rooted, to be honest. Saying this shit as someone with attachment issues, I 100% agree. It's something that could have happened in your childhood, and that made you where you are more attached to people, because you're missing some sort of thing in your life, right? She just needs to clearly see how this man is treating her and who he is. I don't think the man is treating her badly, right? Or did I read that wrong? B has never even drunk alcohol. Now he pressures her to drink. Ah, okay, yeah, true. I didn't read that word. Now, I mean, it's safe to say this guy is an asshole. All right, let's go to the fourth confession. This means probably it's gonna get a little bit worse right now. I accidentally destroyed my sister's childhood videotape 10 years ago and blamed our old VCR. When we were growing up in the early 2000s, my dad used to film almost every family event on his bulky VHS camcorder. He has one specific tape labeled Emma's 5th birthday and ballad recital. My sister Emma cherished that tape. Whenever she was feeling down, she'd drag out the VCR, pop it in, and watch herself wobbling around in a pink tutu. One afternoon when I was around 14, I was home alone and super bored. I wanted to record a movie that was playing on cable so I could watch it again later. I grabbed what I thought was a blank tape off the shelf near the TV, popped it in, and hit record. It wasn't a blank tape. About halfway through recording the movie, I noticed a Sharpie label on the side. My stomach dropped through the floor. I stopped recording, rewound, and hit play. Sure enough, right after the footage of Emma blowing out her birthday candles, it abruptly cut to 30 minutes of an action movie over her ballad recital. I panicked. I couldn't undo it, and I knew she would be heartbroken. So I took a small screwdriver from my dad's toolbox, pried open the top of the VHS tape, and pulled out a chunk of magnetic film until it got tangled. Then I jammed it back into the player so it looks like the machine had chewed it up. When Emma tried to play it a few weeks later, it got stuck. My dad pulled it out, saw the crumpled tape inside, and declared the old VCR was finally dying and had destroyed her video. Emma cried for 2 days. I stood right there in the living room and comforted her, telling her it was just a stupid old machine's fault. She's 25 now and brought it up last Thanksgiving, saying how sad she still is that she'll never see her recital again. I'm a grown adult, but I couldn't bring myself to tell her the truth. I can already tell this is another thing I would take to my grave. I feel like this one definitely is more to take to your grave. This one definitely hits a little bit more close to home. You lost something close to you instead of just 800 bucks like the last one. How much later is it? So this is 10 years ago. She's 25 now, and when it got destroyed, she was about like 15. The fact that she says she's still sad about never being able to see her ballet recital, right? I don't think you should ever share it. I mean, it's in the past now anyways. It's not gonna bring it back. It's crazy, by the way. As a kid, OP was able to lie so well. Like, she had a whole ass plan to put the tape back in and somehow blame the machine afterwards, comforting her. And also pretty nice. Hey, at least she comforted her. That's the least she can do after after ruining everything. No, but I don't think she should share it. I think she should take this to the grave. I think I would. It definitely depends on your relationship with your sister as well, of course. She still probably feels sentiment about it. I would have never said it. No, exactly. All right, next confession. I purposely got my sister out of my family's life because she's a bitch. All right, there we go. It's already getting worse. It's already getting worse. My older sister Lily, not her real name, is a first-class cunt. She has raging anger issues, a weed addiction, a terrible mother to my nephew, and is constantly in and on and off relationship with an abusive asshole who has done so many things wrong to my family. Example, he stole and shouted in my grandma's face while she was dying of cancer. And that's not even the worst of it. All right, this is a spicy one, guys. Let's get this tea. So basically, to get into it, I was about 25 weeks pregnant at the time, and I kind of started an argument with Lily because she had used the towel that I bought myself. It was the only one that fitted around my body because I was a big pregnant gal. And she was very quick to get into my face and start threatening me, saying things like, "You may be pregnant, but I can still hit your face, and I'll throw you down the stairs." I knew that she wouldn't actually do any of them, but I decided in that moment that I didn't want this girl anyone near me or my baby anymore. So I made a big deal about it and started to fake a panic attack and called the police, asking them to get her out of the house. I was still living at home with my parents and other siblings while she was not, and did have a place to live. But before the police even got there, she ran out the back of the house and left her son with us. Like I said, shitty mother. After all that went down, she was messaging my mom, telling her to let her come back. And I know this was wrong of me, but I made my mom choose between me or Lily because I was standing my ground on her never being in our lives again. After a lot of screaming and crying, my mom chose me as I was the one who lived there and paid rent. All of my siblings were quite happy that Lily was no longer allowed to come back to our home anymore, as she was a horrible person to everyone, especially my dad, who isn't her real dad, but he raised her from when she was about 9 months. But I'm glad that I dragged the argument out and made her leave our life, and I'm so happy that my son never had to meet her, as she was saying racist things about my unborn son behind my back, all because my baby's father is Asian. It's been over a year since we all have last seen or heard from her. My only regret is that now my nephew thinks that we have abandoned him because Lily won't let us see him without her and is using him to punish us. This absolutely breaks my mom, of course, as she wants to see Lily as her grandson but can't because no one else wants her in our lives again. I hope when my nephew grows up he'll reach out to me so I can explain what really happened, as I know Lily has spun the whole story around to her being a victim as always. I'm just so sad he never got to meet my son, as he was so excited to have a cousin and would ask me every day, "Is my cousin big yet?" when I was pregnant. Sorry that this was so long. I don't think you gotta be sorry about this being long, because this is a lot of stuff to unpackage, bro. You can't just leave any of this context out. Can we kill Lily? Okay, guys, this might have triggered you, but can we keep it calm a little bit, guys? I don't know. I don't know about killing her. All right, she has a kid. Let's not do that. All right, chat. Now, well, I definitely gotta say that, bro, if you're threatening to push someone off the stairs who is pregnant, obviously hurting the baby, even if you're not gonna do it or whatever, you don't say stuff like that. That is insane. Threatening to kill the unborn child of your sister? What's wrong with you? And then when it adds up, screaming in the face of your grandma dying of cancer, or like saying racist stuff about your kid that hasn't been born yet, it wouldn't surprise me that those threats came from a place of racism, right? That she just doesn't like the kid already. I don't know how sisters can be so different. That's also always a surprise to me. Maybe she had a different childhood. Maybe she just got heavily influenced by that terrible boyfriend of hers that we heard about on the start. If you're gonna have a bitchy attitude like this, you don't deserve kids. No, I agree. But it's really sad for that kid. I think it's so sad that some kids have to deal with parents like this. You can't do anything about it. It's even worse for the kid now because he doesn't have any balance in his life. Like, imagine he has to spend every waking moment of his life with that terrible boyfriend, with his mother, who is obviously a bit extreme, let's call it that, and he doesn't even have his grandma in his life, or his aunt, or anyone else, right? Which would have at least gave him some normalcy. Is that a word? That's what I'm trying to say, at least. Can I take the child in? I don't know if it works like that. I don't think we can. The Deehain community's first adoption. Should I ask it in the Reddit comments? Let the big D community adopt the child. Chat, what are we saying? What are we saying, bro? What are we saying? We would be great parents. I don't know about that one, chat. I don't know about that one. I would teach them how to draw MPrag. Yeah, okay. So, chat, I honestly think that nephew's probably better with the mother. I don't know about this one, chat. This might be even a worse influence on him. All right, next confession. We're going to the next confession. I betrayed my best friend and I feel so guilty it haunts me. So, I had this friend at school. She was an exchange student from Italy that was staying at my school for a year. We're both 17 female. We got extremely close in that 1 year and we swore to be sisters for life. We were inseparable. I loved her so much. In our year, there was this other Italian guy who was on an exchange, which she was completely mad about. He didn't pay much attention to her, which fueled her obsession with him. At some point of the year, they hooked up and well afterwards stopped talking for some motive. Moving on from this, when my friend left my school, I felt incredibly alone starting the new school year. I didn't have any friends and I don't fit in at all at my school. In full honesty, I was jealous of her. I was jealous that she got to go back to Rome where she had so many other friends and parties every weekend while I was stuck in my reality that had only been different because of her. I went into the new school year and felt so depressed and isolated, like my life was a nightmare all of a sudden. Until one day, I bumped into this Italian guy in the corridor. We talked for a while and could relate about some things, as I'm half Italian and we speak the same language. I felt guilty initially becoming friends with this guy, knowing that my friend was still crazy obsessed with him despite having left the UK back to Rome and being back with her old friends. She would often ask about him and talk about how much she wishes they could be together. Well, anyways, throughout the school year, I had realized quite obviously that this guy had feelings for me, and I ended up hooking up with him. It didn't make sense for me really. I didn't even like him that much and I felt so guilty. I think it was like some impulsive rebellion to feel something. I felt angry that I was all alone. I felt like my life was boring, but none of these excuses make up for the fact that my heart hurts so much because I betrayed the girl I loved like my sister. We're only teenagers, but I feel like I poisoned something so pure. I could never tell her. I think it would break her heart, but I feel too guilty to speak to her normally. I feel so much guilt and I just want to share it to take it off my mind since it's keeping me awake. I hate to be the bad guy of the story and I know she would have never done this to me. This guy wasn't even worth it. I didn't even like him like that. I know this guilt is the consequence of my action, but I wish I could justify that I'm not a bad person. I'm a stupid teenage girl and I managed to ruin everything. I mean, I think this is terrible. I guess this is just pure jealousy, right? So she slept with her friend's crush. I don't think it's even a crush. She already hooked up with this guy herself, the friend, right? They had something, right? And then as soon as she left, she felt alone, and so in a rebellious act, she hooked up with the same guy, as if her friend all the way in Rome is the reason she is so alone. I mean, this is just pure jealousy and it's really sad. I don't think this is much of a portrayal like she left the country, she just has some weird obsession. I mean, it's not like they were together, that is true, but still, out of all the guys you could have slept with, you're doing it with someone you don't even like, that your friend in Rome still has a crush on. I think there's better options. I feel like it's a betrayal because of the intent. As she says herself, as some sort of rebellious thing, right? It's just jealousy. It shows that neither of them are very good people because the guy is sleeping with his fling's friend after the fling. The question is, does he know? Because they were only a fling, right? They were not a relationship, so he might not have known that they were friends though. That could be a thing. We don't get that context here. But I do agree, if he does know about it, then he's not worth it anyways, right? It would be worse if the girl was still in the same school. Yeah, no, 100% that would be worse. But still, I think that doesn't make this right just because there's something worse, right? I don't think that makes this right. At the end, I'm just a stupid teenage girl. I hate when people just say, I'm just a girl. I'm just stupid. I feel like people who say it to themselves, they're using it as like a scapegoat, right? Next confession. All right, we're already getting worse confessions, so I think this is gonna be a spicy one. I am a manipulative person and I don't know what to do. Just want to give some quick warnings about abusive, manipulative behavior and sexual assault. So guys, if you can't handle all that stuff, maybe tune out for a couple minutes. I'm 22, in college now, though I think I might take a break for a bit. A few years ago, roughly from when I was 17 to 19, I made some of the worst mistakes I could. I was bad to people, used a few people, tried to act like anyone who hurt me was entirely wrong and abusive, such as my exes, when it was largely untrue. I was constantly depressed and needy for people to like me and to feel belonging, but my own insecurity never would have let me anyway, no matter what anyone did for me. By my time in college, I had come to regret my actions from that time. I really wanted to forget about it mostly, pretend that time didn't exist and just move on. I think I must have tried to repress everything instead of figuring it out and fixing it. I very actively tried to be a safe space for people moving forward, especially any women friends of mine who felt abused or insecure in any way. One of my friends even likes to call me one of the good ones, in reference to men, which is probably not a good thing to say, lol, but it was something. Around last July, I texted a friend of mine because I was feeling rather depressed, and she offered to drive me around for a bit. We started hanging out and I wanted to keep it platonic because I just kind of didn't feel particularly attracted to her. She had started asking very sexual questions, asking what stuff I was into, my sexual past, and eventually the size of some stuff. We all know what he means by some stuff. There's not a lot of interesting sizes on guys. Why does he say some stuff? She had confessed feelings. I felt bad, but I didn't reciprocate and told her basically never say never. A couple weeks passed and we're hanging out, watching a movie at like 4 a.m. At this point, I'm kind of actively trying to develop feelings for her. It becomes a blur, but the next afternoon, she had told me we had messed around that night. I had grabbed her, specifically her chest, and in response the next morning, she had grabbed me while sleeping. I told her I had no recollection of that and promptly apologized. Now that some time has passed, I can't tell if I remember it or not, but I feel, even if exhausted, I made a terrible mistake and tried to grab her that night. I had apologized, said I didn't want to have a physical relationship as I thought it was a bad idea. She had agreed and things seemed okay. A few weeks later, I had drifted off, and later after I woke up, she had told me that she had grabbed me again. After that, I agreed to have a physical relationship, saying that I do not victimize myself or consider myself assaulted. By all means, I won't lie, I wanted the physical affection and only said no because she liked me and I felt that was appropriate. After that night though, I feel like I'd fallen back into old habits and became manipulative and actively allowed and wanted a physical relationship that shouldn't have existed in the first place. She would have constantly asked if I was attracted to her and I'd say yes, both because I was scared she'd not want to be friends anymore if I wasn't, and because I thought it was what she wanted to hear. I tried establishing boundaries that we both broke pretty quickly. Eventually, I would start offering to do stuff instead of just allowing it. I fully ignored how this had started completely and didn't even consider the fact that I touched another human being without consent. I became pretty actively perverted during this time, and I think I told myself, hey, she's doing it, therefore it's okay if I do it, which she also told herself as well. I think I actively let this go on because I didn't want to be alone. I told her what she wanted to hear. While I can say my intentions had started out okay, deep down they must have been as I grabbed her. But even then, my intentions became worse and worse as time passed and didn't even realize the magnitude of what I had done and how inappropriate I was being towards her. Eventually, time passes and she grew distant. The semester had started back up and I had a mental breakdown and fell into some disgusting and stalker behavior. My friends had stopped talking to me, other than two. She had told my friends how shitty I was, and by all means, the social ostracism is something I deserve. I had decided in the long run to keep the aspects such as her own actions on her own accord to myself, because I think I confused her with muddied consent. But this was only after a friend of mine had to convince me to. Though I do not know what she had told him, but I refuse to be someone who invalidates someone of how they feel, especially in these circumstances. Basically, I think I am a pervert, a manipulator, or maybe even a narcissist, or someone who just lacks empathy. After my late high school years and now, I've realized I wish I was just a normal person. I used to convince myself that my bad behavior were just young mistakes, but now I think it's a deeper issue that I should have actively worked on. So no one got hurt, but my own insecurities have led me to being flat out awful. I'm beyond hurt and upset about the fact that I lost my social life on that campus, and I feel as if the only way to make true accountability is to not feel that way. But I don't know how to. And I feel as if that's selfish on me. A lot of people in my situation that have written on here have described self-hatred, which I feel too. But I feel as if I don't reserve the right to feel sorry for myself. I wish I could apologize to people, especially her, but I've largely cut contact or have had contact cut with friends on campus, and I feel the best thing I can do is leave her alone. Alright, so this one, calling himself a pervert manipulator or maybe even a narcissist who lacks empathy, I think he definitely has some problems. I don't think he's a narcissist. I'm pretty sure if you're able to call yourself a narcissist, you're not. Pretty sure that's how it works, but he definitely has some problems. You know, one thing I find really weird in this post, OP is mentioning that he doesn't remember grabbing her. How do you not remember? I feel like he's just a pathological liar. He just lies to himself, and that's how he forgets stuff like this, right? Is that what is happening? He did really fuck up later on. Yeah, I honestly didn't get that part, because he says touch another human being without consent. What part? Unless he still does it in her sleep. Is that what they mean? Do they just only touch each other when they're sleeping? Is that what they're talking about? And because she's touching him while he's sleeping, he's touching her while she's sleeping. I mean, I feel like if you're in a sexual relationship with each other and you're doing it while sleeping to each other, you both need to set up like boundaries and like what you can do. I'm assuming you have talked with your partner about this, right? I feel like there's a lot of context missing, and most of the post is just him shitting on himself. If you're not used to being loved, everything other people do or you do, you feel like they don't actually want it. I guess that is a really good point, and I 100% feel that's what's happening right here, human. I think they're totally not being used to being loved, and then they just feel terrible about everything. They both want each other physically. She wants a relationship and he leads her on romantically. Yeah, no, I do think he's an absolute asshole for leading her on, but he obviously had no interest in her. He just wants physical touch and she wants a relationship. I think that is a bit scummy. Yeah, that is a bit selfish for sure. For the most part, I think this guy just needs therapy. I think he has too big of self-esteem issues or doesn't know how to love properly or even communicate properly. I mean, these two just need to communicate more. I'm really confused by it. I cheated on someone by posting nudes online. I don't know if I fully feel remorse and don't know how to stop. Alright, so yes, it's definitely ramping up and the posts are getting worse. Let's get to reading. I was exposed to sexting at a young age online through apps that had anonymous texting and the likes. Being a young girl who felt incredibly ugly and low self-esteem due to bullying, getting attention online fulfilled a hole in me that yearned for affection. I never thought I'd ever get that kind of attention and was dumb and bought into stuff online that made me excuse it as okay. In high school, I extended beyond just messaging and started posting explicit photos. I had a fake Snap account, posted on Reddit, etc. and loved getting dirty attention as I felt it validated me as someone to be desired after and worthy of someone's attention. As I got older, I got more into the misogyny kink stuff and other gross stuff like that. I kind of hate myself for it, but I couldn't stop messaging people, posting online, trying to feel worthy of something and trying to get off. I started dating someone for the first time in college. I'd never been sexually active, had only kissed like one other person, nobody had even really asked me out. People are always telling me I'm incredibly attractive, but I've never felt it really ever. Being in my first relationship with someone I had crushed on for a while was very exciting and validating, and we were really sexually active with each other, sleeping together 2 to 5 times a week, sexting often, feeling each other up even more as he was into exhibitionism. I stopped posting anything online and deleted my account on Reddit and didn't want to do anything that might have breached his trust. However, one night I got incredibly drunk and high at a party in college. Against my better judgment, I posted nudes online again. I was horny and wanted attention and wanted someone to sext with, and posted with titles like "My boyfriend doesn't fuck me hard enough." Our actual PIV sex was never longer than 45 seconds, but he satisfied me other ways. I texted some people that night and got off on posting myself, but the next morning I was horrified by what I did and deleted the account and every photo from my phone. I never did it again for the rest of our relationship, and while I was so guilty, I never planned on telling him and still don't. There were plenty of other things that wasn't making our relationship work, so I knew it wouldn't be permanent and was compelled to tell him at all. When we broke up, I almost immediately made another account to start posting explicit photos of myself again. I haven't stopped since. I don't know if I'm sex addicted, if I was groomed by the internet at a young age, if I have some other fucked up things in my psyche that's making me do it, or if I just don't want to stop bad enough. I go to therapy weekly and have been for the past 6 years. I go to a support group. I'm diagnosed and medicated anxiety and ADHD and am considered incredibly healthy and well adjusted. This is the one thing I haven't told my therapist or anyone else in my life, and I never plan on it. But I don't want to struggle with it forever. I don't know what to do, but maybe admitting it and allowing myself to be criticized is a start. Posting nudes online while you're in a relationship is crazy, but adding a text, "My boyfriend doesn't fuck me hard enough," that's a stray for no reason. What did this guy do, bro? 45 seconds isn't that bad, right, chat? Also, this person definitely wants to improve, so I mean, they're looking to get criticized online. I don't know, I think if anything, well, online could maybe provide some help, but I feel like the criticism might just worsen her self-esteem rather than actually helping her get through those thoughts and why she does it. If anything, she's already going to therapy. She's already diagnosed with stuff, so obviously the therapy has made her realize the stuff that's happening with her body, right? That she's struggling with. So why not share this as well? I mean, if the therapist never judged her before, I think she can definitely share this as well. She asked, "I don't want to struggle it with forever. I don't know what to do." You literally said it a sentence before. You haven't told it to your therapist. That's the thing you want to do right now. You gotta tell it to the therapist. Poor boyfriend. Yeah, no, this is really sad for the guy, bro. Like, anyone that gets cheated on, that's just really sad. She just needs to tell her therapist. To some degree, if you're dealing with depression or anxiety or some stuff like that, you could share it with a close friend or a trusted adult or something, right? And they might be able to give you some advice. But something like this, like an addiction to posting nudes and getting that dirty attention, you're gonna get judged by anyone. Your parents, your best friends. This is the only place you can actually say this and get the right help is a therapist. I mean, she stopped posting that shit, so I guess guess it was healthy. What? The relationship? Well, until it was no longer healthy, right? Okay, you might be in a relationship for a couple years. You're always gonna have a bad period in your relationship, right? There's always gonna be struggles, even if it might be after 3 months, it might be after a year, after 2 years. You're gonna have your down periods. And if your first action is to basically go cheating and put nudes online, any relationship will never work out because you're gonna have those down periods. You don't go and hit the nuclear button when you have those down periods. You work through it, and this is not what you do. This is why you don't date. Okay, so, hey, listen, just because there's scumbags out in the world doesn't mean you give up on dating. There's 100% someone that would never do this and is looking for the same stuff that you are looking for. Otherwise, you wouldn't have these thoughts. If you're the person to never go cheating and you believe your way is a good way to have a healthy relationship, there's 100% someone that also has the exact same thoughts. We're around the halfway point right now, so it's definitely getting worse from here on out. Let's go see what the next confession is. I'm scared I sexually assaulted my partner without meaning to. I have a history of making decisions without thinking about them. I'm very impulsive and, while socially aware and capable, I'm often most so in hindsight and can fail to understand how my actions hurt someone until after the fact, even if it's obvious. Then, I often feel stupid, ashamed, guilty, and self-loathing. While there are many examples of that, it has never happened in sexual context before or after this. I'm diagnosed with ADHD. I had an autism diagnosis, but it was removed. Not sure if that was the right choice. Not sure how much of this is because of that, probably a bit. A few months ago, me and my then girlfriend had a sleepover. We're relatively young, still live with our respective parents. She didn't want to have sex that night because her room is close to her parents. I said I understood and left it at that. We still made out and fooled around a bit. However, in my mindset at the time, which I absolutely despise myself for now, I saw this as something which she could change her mind on. She had before in playful circumstances, and so I kept making some advances and started going down on her. She said that she didn't want to a few times before I started. I at the time genuinely and wholeheartedly interpreted it as playful and thought we were on the same page. She pulled my head at the start, but I just responded by grabbing and holding her hand. Then I went down on her and thought she enjoyed it and that it was consensual. She didn't say anything else or push me away, but then as I finished and had gone inside her, she seemed obviously uncomfortable. I asked her about it and she asked me to stop. I stopped. I was still oblivious as to the problem and stayed inside her while not moving or being sexual anymore. It ended with her pushing me out and me slowly realizing the gravity of my mistakes. I tried to talk to her about it. She downplayed it at first, said we just had a misunderstanding, but I realized then that it was much more. I apologized profusely and tried to make her talk about it more and communicate her feelings, but she kind of shut down. The morning after, it was like nothing had happened. 2 days later, she became much more distant, and 3 days later, she dumped me over it. I was distraught, but I didn't argue back and understood it. Now, after the fact, I really don't know how to think about it. I hate myself for not realizing and for not immediately taking her no at face value. It seems so fucking obvious and like such an incredible, stupid, and destructive thing to do of me, and I don't know what to call it. If she would say that I sexually assaulted her, I would understand. I never meant to, never wanted to. Ever since immediately after she explained her discomfort, I've hated myself for it and felt so incredibly bad for her. But I don't know how much intent matters. The thought that I slept with someone who didn't want to sleep with me disgusts me. I hope that my explanations of my thoughts while it happened doesn't come off as trying to justify it. I can't justify it. I want to give a clear picture as possible for as how this happened. I'm in a more emotionally stable place now, but the guilt from this still hangs over me. Feels like I'm a disgusting person, no matter what I think or do. Wish I could find some peace or an explanation. Right now, I'll just make sure nothing like it ever happens again. Edit. I feel like I should add that I told my therapist about this, whose response has been confusing, as well as 2 of my closest friends who cut contact with me over it. Can't really judge them. And this, chat, is why you have a safe word. It's just stupid. I don't think he had bad intentions. I think he's just a fucking dumbass. Cause his reasoning is, she playfully said no before and then had a fun time. That this time she said no and it was also just playful and they would also just have a fun time, right? But this time the no was real, and that's the problem. Especially if you're into like power play or some stuff like that. Saying no can just be very confusing sometimes. If at one time it's serious and the other time it's playful. So that's how we confused it. And now he feels terrible understandable, and I obviously get that because he didn't mean that as it seems. He's just stupid again. I feel so sad for the girl that she didn't or somehow just let it happen, because it makes me think that she had something like this happen to her in the past. I caused something bad to happen to my grandma, even though I could have stopped it. Note, this is my first time writing something like this on Reddit. Please don't judge my writing skills. I'm a 15-year-old male. My parents are divorced and I live with my mother and my 2 siblings. I'm the youngest. My oldest sister is 26 and my brother is 25. Going back about 5 to 6 years to mid-2020, my grandpa was living with us during COVID. That's when a strange habit started appearing. She wouldn't stay in one place for very long. Every couple of days, she would call my mom and tell her that she was bored and wanted to go home. After staying at our house for a night, she suddenly started worrying about her own house. Whether the windows were locked, what the neighbors were doing, whether the bills were taken care of, and so on. He gave his grandma COVID? I don't think that's where the story's going, but good guess. I became exhausting, especially for my sister. Back then, she was the one who usually had to drive my grandma home or come pick her up. Almost every time, it would eventually turn into an argument between my mom, my sister, and my grandma. Then, things started getting stranger. My grandma began forgetting people's names, objects, and even dates. Eventually, in 2023, 3 years later, we found out why. She had Alzheimer's disease. At the time, I was dealing with my parents' divorce. My parents are actually on good terms, and I see my dad every weekend, but I was still struggling to understand what the divorce meant. Between the ages of 9 and 12, I was also bullied pretty badly. It affected me mentally and contributed to problems I was having with my weight. And who did I blame? My family. Specifically, my grandmother. Why is he blaming his grandmother? Well, that seems like a weird person to choose to blame for being bullied, but let's see what he's gonna say. Back then, I was convinced she was faking her illness for attention. Because of that, I treated her badly. When I was young, I'd sometimes just stare at her to make her uncomfortable. As her condition got worse, so did my attitude towards her. After her diagnosis, she started living with us permanently. Instead of constantly going between her house and ours, she would repeatedly get up and check on my mom's room. You might ask, what's so bad about that? Imagine having to stop someone from doing the exact same thing over and over again. I'd sometimes have to tell her what was going on dozens of times in an hour. The reason we tried to stop her wasn't because we were angry at her. Her leg wasn't in a very good condition, and we were scared she would fall. And the memory problems kept getting worse. In 2023, she forgets something after around 20 minutes. In 2024, it became around 10 minutes. By 2025, sometimes she'd forget after only 5 minutes. You can't blame someone with Alzheimer's for asking the same questions again or forgetting something you told them 5 minutes earlier. But that doesn't mean it wasn't mentally exhausting for my mom and sister. Sometimes my mom would ask me to watch my grandma while she was in a meeting or out shopping, and I wasn't exactly patient with her. I'd stare at her, and whenever she tried to get up, I'd push her back on the couch. I would annoy her, and sometimes I could tell it scared her. Then came the night I'll probably never forget. It was sometime near the beginning of 2026, so this isn't really that long ago. My mom was preparing the bed while I was watching my grandma. At the time, my grandma was also taking medication to help her sleep because she barely slept at night. While I was watching her, I noticed that she was extremely dizzy, and this is the part that I can't stop thinking about. I could have called my mom. I could have told my grandma to wait. I could have gotten my mom to help her. Instead, I let her get up and walk on her own. She didn't even make it to where she was trying to go. She fell hard. Hard enough that my brother, who was wearing soundproof headphones, actually heard the fall. And after that, everything changed. Her condition became much worse. She stopped walking and eventually needed a wheelchair. She wasn't talking like she used to either, and I keep thinking about that moment because I knew she was dizzy. I knew she had Alzheimer's. I knew she had trouble walking, and I knew I could have called my mom, but I didn't. I keep wondering if things would have been different if I had just stopped her and asked my mom for help. I feel horrible about what happened. I know Alzheimer's wasn't her fault, and looking back, I realized that I spent years blaming someone for something she had no control over. I wish I had understood that sooner. This shit is a free birth control ad. Yeah, no, I told you guys, they're gonna keep getting worse over time. There's only 3 more confessions after this. At first I was like, okay, that's fine. He's getting bullied, he's dealing with a divorce, and he's getting annoyed by his grandma who just keeps repeating the same stuff. That can get annoying. But once he started talking about pushing her back on the couch and stuff and like treating her like that, that is terrible. How could you do that to your grandma? Because like she wasn't like this before when he was still a kid. I don't know how she was. He didn't give any context about that, but he didn't give any clues that she was a mean person or anything. So this feels terrible. How could you do something like that to your grandma? And that makes me worry about this person in general. Like, how would he act towards anyone in his future life if something is happening that he doesn't like? I guess you could argue that he's still a kid and he's dealing with a lot. Damn, this is just sad to hear. Maybe he was bullied for a reason. Again, we can't say that. that. We can, yeah, maybe. Maybe he's just an asshole at 15 already, but no, I do get it. This definitely infuriates me a lot as well. How can you treat someone like that, especially your grandma that doesn't even know what's happening? Scaring her like that? And Alzheimer's is just such a scary disease, bro. I think getting dementia, Alzheimer's, whatever, is worse than dying. I'm not gonna lie, I think it's worse than dying. I would rather die than deal with Alzheimer's or some stuff like that. Forgetting the people around you is already terrifying thought. I mean, you wouldn't remember that you forgot it, but for the people around you to like, they notice you don't remember them and they just see you disappearing as a person, turn into like a zombie. Oh, what a scary disease that is. Let's go to the next confession. We're getting wild ones right now, and there's only 3 more remaining, so let's see. Basically, I am a pretty twisted person, and I wanted to tell a rather nasty story. I remember when I went to Turkey for a football training camp with my whole team. I was dating a girl at the time. Our hotel had balconies that you could easily climb across. So when she and her friends went out to the store, I climbed through the balcony into their room and, not wasting any time, went straight to open her suitcase. There were 3 pairs of her worn panties inside. I took them all. After that, I saw her friends' worn panties on the bed and took those too. Both she and her friends were very curvy girls. Then I rummaged through their suitcases and found the leggings of her friend, who also wore them without underwear. I took all of it and went into their room, where their unwashed swimsuits were hanging. Well, you know the drill. I spent about 20 minutes choking the chicken, smelling their panties, and even licking them. When I was done, I took a tissue and smeared the inside of the leggings on my girlfriend's panties. Then put everything back. But I kept her panties that had the strongest scent and choked the chicken to them about 10 more times that day. Later that evening, when we were making out in their room, I pulled those panties out while she wasn't looking and tossed them behind the bed. Then I pretended to find them. She got embarrassed and giggled. A year has passed and I still haven't told her about this, and I don't think I ever will. If anyone judges me, I don't care. It was totally worth it. Yo, he doesn't even care. He still says it's totally worth it. Bro, and he's still dating her. This isn't like a past tense story or something. He's like still dating with her. Bro, you're already dating her. Why are you doing sneaky stuff like this? Put him behind bars, find this man. I love how the reactions in chat are also getting worse and worse by the post. Now this guy, I mean, he says it himself. He doesn't even regret it. He says it's totally worth it. Every time some dude is like heavily obsessed with panties, I feel like they just watch way too much porn. I mean, this guy has a severe addiction. 10 times that day. How do you even do that? Cut his dick off? Alright, alright guys, I think he needs therapy. I don't think that's gonna solve stuff. He can still sniff, guys. He needs his nose off as well at that point. Come on, guys, what are we saying? I feel sorry for the girl, and I really hope she finds out. I mean, I can't believe that this guy is still dating her. If you're into stuff like that, just talk about it with the person you're dating. Hey, who knows, they're fine with it, right? Like, why would you do that sneakily? This guy needs to be behind bars, bro. If he does that without consent, I'm afraid of what this guy's future might behold. Long-term married, I leave a long scar on the back of his shoulder, and he still forgave me and still loves me. Sorry for my English, it's my 3rd language. I'm Chinese, married to a non-Chinese. 16 years together, 14 years married, no children, infertility on my side. And this is a man that is 190 centimeters tall. He's 6'3", while I'm just 150 centimeters, barely 5 foot. This is a man whose hobbies are hunting, outdoor shooting range, mountains, rock climbing, run long distance. My point is, with this height and strength, he's not scared of me. Just like how he said he's not scared of me, it's because he loves me. I have intermittent anger explosive disorder, IED. You can Google it, it's a mental illness. I was diagnosed by my psychiatrist that diagnosed me with intermittent anger explosive disorder, IED. My psychiatrist said it stems from my chaotic and dysfunction childhood. Anywho, just like depression, mental illness is very real, and it is terrible, especially when you're hurting your spouse. In the past, during one of my IED violent episodes, I grabbed a big knife, a meat butcher knife, in the kitchen and threw it at my husband. He dodged, but due to how close distance he is with me, the knife cut him deep and it left a long cut on his back shoulder that he didn't stop bleeding from. If he did not get stitches, he would continue bleeding out and infections would have taken over the open bleeding wound. He still wants to protect me, like he said. If he called the police will take me away from him. So he'd rather endure my abuse than cut ties with me. He also refused to go to the hospital because the hospital would know right away that it is not a self-inflicted wound due to the angle of the knife throw. The cut was on his shoulder but to his back as he dodged. You cannot self-inflict a knife to your back. Even if you manage to, the angle of the injury, the hospital will know that someone did it to him, not yourself. He drove. I was in the car. He drove to a broke down urgent care. This urgent care not only broke down, but most people there don't even speak English. He went in and told them he does not have insurance. He has, but he says he doesn't want to leave a paper trail. He asked them to give him stitches and that he will pay them in cash and will give them big tips. He got the stitches and he paid in cash and left them a big tip. He wanted to protect me the whole time. He could have called the police and have my ass thrown in jail. He could go straight to the hospital and the hospital would put me in a psych ward and put a restraining order on me. But he didn't. Even during the time where he could have died, he still protected me. He still thinks of me first above himself. He loves me that much. He said he would rather die with me than to lose me. All he asked of me was, please don't abuse me anymore, and that it's not too late for me to stop this abuse, because he's still living here and it's only too late if he died. I bawled when I heard him say that. That was when I decided to go to a psychiatrist for my intermittent anger explosive disorder, IED, and had been in therapy since. I do owe him my life, my freedom, as I should be sitting rotten in jail right now. Throwing a knife at someone and causing injury is a felony. This man lost me unconditionally. Out of love, he never pressed charges. He still protects me times after times. I don't know how I got this lucky. He is too beautiful, but when it comes to me, he treats me with kindness, empathy, and unconditional love. He's the most gentle, the most kind, the most forgiving. He has no hate in his heart. Lifetime therapy for me, working to control my intermittent anger explosive disorder, IED. I do not want to abuse him anymore. At first, I was low-key annoyed at the guy's state because no love is worth abuse, but I'm happy she's getting help and working on herself. I'm happy for her that she's going to therapy. That's at least someone who's willing to go to therapy and better themselves, so that is good. However, she's trying to make herself feel so good at the beginning because he's 190 centimeters and he's very strong and I'm only 150 centimeters. I'm just a girl. She's making it seem like this isn't terrible abuse. It doesn't matter how tall you are, how strong you are. Throwing a knife at someone is terrible either way. It doesn't matter what gender you are, what size you are. I think this guy is really lacking. I think he has some very bad self-esteem issues and that's why he's staying with her. I don't care what mental illness you have. If you're throwing knives at me, I'm gone, but that's just me. No, exactly. You're a meter or less away from dying. If you don't care about your spouse's life like that and just are reckless like that, then I'm out of there, bro. I'm out of there. You don't throw a knife at me. Now, supposedly we're gonna get the worst story of them all. The final confession. Let's go to the next one. I think I'm a girl pervert. I did something gross. Like the title says, I think I might be a girl pervert. Today I did something pretty perverted. I work at a place that has a sauna and I'm in charge of cleaning the sauna. Usually I set it up for people before they come in. I lay some towels down in advance for their appointment. Well, today a cute couple came in for an appointment and I had the sauna set up for them. I checked them in and started their timer. After they finished, I asked them how their session went. The guy answered, sorry in advance, I got so sweaty in there. And I assured them it was fine and they left. For some reason, when he said that, I got so turned on by the idea that it would be so gross in there, all the sweat on the towels. I started thinking, what if he wiped his sweaty ass with a towel and what if they fucked in there and their juices are all over the towels? I got turned on mainly thinking about her sweaty boyfriend. I have a fetish for dirty men slash hairy men slash stinky men slash men's dirty a-holes. So I went in there and instead of cleaning the sauna, I got naked and put their wet towels. The towels were soaked all over me with all their juices. I sucked on them and put them on my face and rubbed them all over my body. I masturbated and came so hard. After I was done, I cleaned up, finished work and closed out for the day. I just got home and took a shower and I can't stop thinking about how dirty I am and the fact that it turns me on thinking about what I did today. Edit, yes I'm a girl, yes I'm gross. That is a real thing that I did today. I have a lot of nasty fetishes, unfortunately. This is actually disgusting. Yo, I tend to agree with you a little bit right there, Rambor. This is definitely, I think this is the worst story I've seen today. This might be the time to close Reddit forever, guys. I might have to stop this channel already. I want to have my ears cut off? Why do you even post this online? I don't even know what to say here. I need to clean my ears. My poor innocent soul. That is something you take to your grave. It's an anonymous account probably, right? So why not share whatever you want? You're kind of still taking it to the grave. You're just traumatizing other people with this stuff, I guess. Is she into getting publicly ashamed? Honestly, she did say she has some nasty fetishes, so it wouldn't surprise me that she's also getting a kick out of this. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Can we just move on to playing marbles on stream? Yeah, I think this is enough Reddit confessions for now. Those are common fetishes, to be fair. No, I don't, maybe Maybe being publicly no, they're not really common. I'm gonna be honest. They're not really common. I don't know what you're saying. Let's close Reddit for a good time now.